These cameras are the future of policing. It is the technology of tomorrow, and here at Fort Worth, we pride ourselves on being leaders and innovators in public safety. These cameras allow us an accurate and irrefutable account of police encounters. They allow us to have the truth of what happens during any police encounter, and that's what our citizens and our police officers deserve, is the truth. And they are a fantastic piece of technology, and we are happy to be implementing more of them out in the field. Sergeant Sykes will now give you all a demonstration of the cameras.
Basically, the way this project started was about 2 years ago. We started testing various models and designs of cameras that the officers could wear on their person. We've seen the dash cams in the police cars for years. This technology actually gives the officer the ability to take that recording device with them as they leave the car. A lot of the instances, or a lot of the investigation part of an incident happens away from the police car. We never get a recording of that. So basically, after a lot of testing and evaluation, we settled on the Axon Flex system for a couple of reasons. Basically, this camera mounts to the officer's uniform in several different ways. You can see here, it'll mount to their collar. Down here in the front, we have it mounted to a pair or several pairs of sunglasses. These sunglasses were chosen because they're lightweight, and it's a model that the officers commonly have already. The camera actually mounts directly to the side, or mounts to the side of their collar. There's additional mounting options. They can mount it to their epaulet. They can mount it to a helmet for a motorcycle officer or a bike officer, or even a tactical officer. Basically, the officer that's wearing the camera starts the recording when they decide something needs to be recorded. They don't have to record themselves just driving around or doing basic interviews, anything like that. It's something that's worthy of recording, an investigation, use of force, anything of that sort. The officer starts the recording, and then they leave a recording for the entire incident. When they're done with that incident, or when they're done with their shift, they simply take the camera off of their chosen mounting option, and they plug it into a docking station. Once they plug it into the docking station, all of the evidence that's on this camera, it's automatically uploaded to a server. Once it's on that server, or actually once it's even recorded on the camera, the officer has no way to delete that video, they have no way to edit the video, and they don't get to choose which videos they upload or which ones they don't. That gives a true and accurate representation of the scene at the time. From here, the evidence goes, like I said, to a secure web server. From there, all of our detectives have access to it, all of our supervisors have access to it, and eventually the district attorney's office will also have access, where from the time the recording is captured to the time that it shows up in trial, we can say that recording's never been altered, it's never been edited, and we can track each individual person that's had any encounter with that video, who looked at it, who saw it, who downloaded it, anything like that. The officers also get in part of the package, they get a small media player. This media player connects wirelessly to the camera, so it actually sees what the camera sees in real time. So the officer can use it to either position the camera, or they can use it for almost a surveillance technique. They can see what the camera sees without exposing any extra parts of their body to do stuff such as search crawl spaces, search in attics, anything like that. Kind of a tactical advantage in that capability. This device will also allow the officer to view the evidence that's been recorded on the camera. They can assign a report number to that evidence, they can add a title to it, or they can add a category to it. This gives the officer the ability to, from the field, before they do their report, review that video evidence that they've recorded. Basically watch the call again. That way the reports are more accurate, and there's also the ability to clear up any inconsistencies that this witness said this or this witness said that. You have a recording of both of those, so both instances can be included into the report.
We show the different mounting options.
We have the two different mounting options we have here are the Oakley mount, which mounts to a side of Oakley flak jacket sunglasses. The device actually just mounts to the side, to the left or the right. You'll see they come with clear lenses, or they come with shaded lenses for the officers that work at night. The clear lenses work also as eye protection as well as a way to mount the camera. In cities around the country that have already tested these or different models of these, they've had a significant reduction in the number of complaints against officers. We've already seen a few of those cases in our city. For instance, a citizen may call and question why an officer did A or B. The supervisor can then review the video, the officer can review the video, and at some point they may release it to the citizen and say, here's exactly what happened, here's what was recorded from the officer's point of view. Is he going to capture everything that goes on? Obviously not. We can't get a camera that does 360 degrees. But at least this takes and gives the officer's perspective of what happened at the time.
Any questions for Sergeant Sykes?
Have you used it in the field yet?
Yes, sir.
What's your personal thought?
My personal thought, I was the first one in the field that had them. I began testing them, this model, in probably May of 2012. I personally try to record every interaction that I have. Every time I step out of the car to talk to a citizen, whether it's a traffic stop or an investigation, I try to make that recording just for the chance that something may happen during that call. I've found it a great tool. It records a lot of evidence. It records a lot of just basic interviews where someone makes a statement. It's recorded several foot chases, uses of force, car chases, stuff like that.
How do you remember to turn it on in the heat of something going down around you?
Basically, this is kind of taking that into account, that at the time of that incident, we don't want the officer worrying about some technology piece they have to turn on before they deal with the situation. So what this system does is, from the time I activate it, it's a simple button push, a remote that's in the officer's pocket or on the belt. A simple button push and the camera starts. From the time that they push the button, the camera actually backs up 30 seconds and captures the prior 30 seconds of video. There's no audio during that time, but it does capture the video, so you get a picture of what happened that led the officer to that decision, or led the officer to decide he needed to record that incident.
But the officer still needs to turn it on.
He does, yes.
Someone else?
How are the cameras at night?
They're actually very good at night. They didn't design them with a true night vision capability because they didn't want them seeing more than the officer could see naturally. So it has about the same resolution as your eyes would at night.
What has the public's reaction been when you interacted with them with the camera on?
Some of them don't even notice it's there, and some of them do. And sometimes we can use that to an advantage. We can tell them, hey, this incident's being recorded, just so you know. Some of them will see it and will ask about it. Hey, is that a camera? Yes, it is. I mean, we're not going to hide it from them. There's no secrecy about it. We're not secretly recording anybody. But it's been overwhelmingly good from what I've seen.
Are there any legal requirements that you say that you're videotaping?
In Texas, there's not, as long as one party to the recording knows that it's being recorded. And obviously, if the officer has the camera on and activates it, they know it's recording. That goes for citizens as well, so it's not a special rule for police. Basically, the standard is, as long as the officer has a legal right to be in that spot, whether they were called there, they self-initiated an investigation, or whatever, as long as they have a reasonable or legal right to be in that spot, they can record that incident.
Have any of your videos yet made it through the court system to appear in court as evidence?
Not to my knowledge.
In a traffic stop, does the driver have an expectation of privacy as long as they're in their own car?
At that point, it's an investigative stop. They're on the public roadway. The officer has a reason to pull up and stop at their car, whether they had a reasonable suspicion to stop the car or probable cause to stop the car. If the officer's standing at the doorway, they have a legal right to be in that position.
Can the person that sees the camera ask them to turn it off at that point?
They
For
can, but
privacy's reasons.
it's there for the public's protection as well as a police officer. It may record something that the citizen didn't agree with, or it may record something that they have a disagreement about later and they want to bring up to a supervisor. That recording's there for both the officer and the citizen's protection.
So if the citizen says, I don't want to be recorded, how do you respond?
I would tell them that it's still going to be recorded, just like the dash cam's recording. We don't give them the option to turn off the dash cam.
And along those lines, or as far as the public accessibility of these, so if I have an interaction with you and I have a concern about, as a citizen, about what went down, will they be able to just come to the department and you show it to them? I mean, how would that work?
The first step is just our standard process. If you have a complaint against an officer, an issue with an officer's behavior or whatever, it would go to that officer chain of command first. So you would contact their supervisor or contact internal affairs, either way. And there's a set process in place for release of either video information or any kind of information regarding that case.
So it'll work pretty much the same way as
Standard
with
as
this.
any
Yeah.
other.
An open records request?
Yes, sir.
What kind of directives or encouragement are you giving to officers to turn it on? I mean, as transparent as you're hoping this appears,
Right.
I'm sure there are a lot of people out there say, oh, well, they can turn it on whenever they want, so,
Right. As the administrator for our server, I check basically every day, every week to make sure that devices are being used. I don't want to put technology in the field that, like you said, they wear it but they never turn it on. I have officers every week asking for cameras, so that tells me that somebody's using it, it's becoming some benefit, whether it's to capture evidence or to reduce complaints or whatever, officers are asking for them. So as more people ask for them, if I see one that's not being used, I'll reassign it to somebody that's asking for it.
Once the shipment that you spoke about of cameras comes in, how many cameras will you have? And then what's the end goal? What's the goal when it comes to the total number of cameras?
We did 50 cameras originally for our first testing evaluation period that lasted about a year. This new shipment that's coming in will be 145 additional, so that would be 195 total. Over the next couple of years, we hope to increase that by several hundred during that time, so that way we can put more cameras in not only our patrol section, but our traffic section, tactical units, anybody that really has an interaction.
With that many cameras out there, are you concerned about creating a data overload?
We're not. The server that this stuff is uploaded to is it's what's called a cloud server. It's using the same secure servers that major corporations use. You know, Google, IBM, all kinds of people are using cloud-based services now. So basically the storage isn't really an issue. It's nothing we have to manage in-house.
How long will the department hold on to those videos? Because you might record something that may or may not be, it could be a traffic stop that you let go with the warning. How long is that video held within the department?
We have, per our policy and per state law, each incident, depending on the level of the offense, has a different retention period for all evidence related to that case. So if it's a Class B or above offense, every one of those goes to a detective in our department. So the detective has the ability to not only download this video from their desk, but they have the ability to retain it as long as they need to for that case.
Would the guidelines be the same as with dashboard video?
Yes, as far as I know.
I have one thing I can follow up that Sergeant Sykes said. We are hoping within 2 years to have 500 cameras out in the field. Within 3 years, we would like to have 60 to 75% of patrol outfitted with Axon Flex cameras. In addition to that, we'd like to have within 3 years, have half of our specialized unit personnel also outfitted with the cameras. That is our goal. Like I said before, this system is the future of policing. And here at Fort Worth, we pride ourselves on being innovators and leaders in public safety. So nobody is mandating us to use these cameras. Our officers are asking for them. They are being utilized out in the field. Before we moved to this system, officers were even purchasing cameras on their own. So this is not only for citizen safety, but for our officer safety as well. Like I said before, this allows us to have an accurate and irrefutable portrayal of any police officer encounter. So it is the truth, and the citizens and the police deserve the truth of any police encounter. And that's all we can hope for this system, but this is the future of policing.